just like symphony orchestra section playing a concerto in front of a group, whether it's a band or a symphony orchestra, can be quite an intimidating experience. And it's also a very different type of playing experience. We spend so much of our lives training within the large ensemble medium. We spend a lot of time within a section. We spend a lot of time looking at section concepts such as blend and balance. We're often being told by a conductor, whether it's in an orchestra setting or in a band, concert band setting, we're often being told that we're possibly too loud. When the role shifts to us being a soloist in front of the orchestra, and you have an opportunity to stand in front, you become something different. It's another tier of saxophone playing, or for any artist who gets a chance to play a concerto. You have to become much more illuminated. You have to become so much more animated. You are now carrying the sound of the orchestra. You are, as I think Liszt and Paganini looked at, you are the hero in the story. You're the protagonist. Maybe you are in an antagonist role, maybe in some kind of dual role with the orchestra. But in many cases, well, in all cases, as a concerto soloist, you are 100% of the attention by the audience, by the composer, by the conductor. We have more responsibility when it's time to be a soloist. Depending on the size of the space, it's assumed that if you're playing a concerto with a large orchestra or a large band, you're going to be in a large auditorium of sorts. You could be in a hall, even as few as 500 seats would be a larger space than you've ever played in before. So you have to be prepared for that change in the size of the acoustic. If you're playing in a huge concert hall that maybe holds 5,000 people, yes, there's an acoustic quality that's going to allow you to be heard, but you still have to get past the sound texture of the large symphony orchestra. And it gets much harder with a large symphonic band. So we have to think of ourselves as adaptable, malleable, and we have to practice with that in mind. When I teach students to play a concerto, I often remove the actual reality of the moment that we're in the room together working on this piece. I need them to believe that the sound that they're intending to make for me would be suitable for a much larger space. This is a very different way of teaching a concerto. Now, maybe that's too loud for a saxophone and piano reduction version of that. Maybe they do have to dial it back. But I want to train them to look at volume, air support, reed selection. I want them to look at it as being built for the moment. I believe that the TM2 Vocalise mouthpiece for me was purpose-built as a concerto mouthpiece. That's the way I feel. That's what I wanted out of it. I think it was one of our missions from the very beginning, that TM2 for me was going to be a concerto mouthpiece. Big, bold, and beautiful. And I wanted it to soar over the group. I wanted it to project to the back of the room, of the hall. I wanted it to get to the farthest audience members. And I wanted the sound to meet their ear, and I wanted it to be beautiful at that point. We all know that we can strive and work to make a beautiful sound right at the source, but that doesn't always translate across distance. So my goal, and what I think we beautifully achieved with TM2, was a mouthpiece that gets more and more beautiful the further and further away you get from it. That's a pretty special quality.